9. Debate number 1. On Times Now. Super Prime Time.
And joining me tonight, Gaurav Bhatia, national spokesperson of the BJP, Dr. Anand Ranganathan, author, Lokesh Jindal, Congress leader, Shoaib Jamai, president of the Indian Muslim Foundation. But my first question goes to Danish Qureshi, political analyst. Danish Qureshi ji, I have a very simple question for you. The question is, 17 tweets jab samajhdari ki baat ho rahi hai, when Mohan Bhagwat Ji is drawing the line, drawing the Lakshman Rekha and say that, okay, Gyanvapi matter is in the courts, try and sit together, find a solution, and if you can't, listen to what the courts say in their verdict, but to try and find a Shivling in every mosque, that's not called for and that should be ended. And he said, हम कोई आंदोलन नहीं करने वाले, राम मंदिर का आंदोलन था, अब जो हो रहा है या तो मिल बैठ के कर लो या कोर्ट के थ्रू कर लो. What is wrong in the statement that there is so much of opposition and angst that Mr. Owaisi has found?
नाविका, मैं तो सिर्फ इतना ही कहूँगा कि क्या मोहन भागवत जी का जो ये स्टेटमेंट है, क्या ये उन्हीं के लोग कर रहे हैं? ऐसा है तो उनके कहने से रुक जाएगा? मतलब पहले तो उनको ये क्लैरिफाई कर देना चाहिए कि क्या ये उन्हीं के कहने से हो रहा है, तो फिर इस तरीके का पब्लिक स्टेटमेंट देने से शायद वो रुकेगा. रह गई बात कि वो जो कह रहे हैं ना, दिक्कत परेशानी उससे ये है कि वो ये कह रहे हैं कि राम मंदिर का जो है पूरा आंदोलन चलाया, जबकि ऑलमोस्ट मैटर तो सब जुडिस था ही वो. फिर भी आपने उस वक्त तो नहीं माना कि मैटर कोर्ट में है और आपने आंदोलन चलाया, फिर बाद में आप ये कह रहे हैं कि भाई हमको कोर्ट में विश्वास है. तो ये तो स्टेटमेंट आप खुद देख लीजिए. आज अभी वो कह रहे हैं कि कोर्ट में मैटर है, लेकिन उस वक्त भी तो कोर्ट में मैटर था.
Gaurav Bhatia, respond to Danish Qureshi.
Navika, these people are perpetual whiners and they will always be whining, crying. And the larger message that Mohan Bhagwat Ji has given, I think there are three very profound, very strong messages. The first is he's emphasized on the unity of the country, which parties like the Muslimin, Asaduddin Owaisi, the Congress party, the self-proclaimed Muslim party, and other parties that indulge in communal politics will not like, because they are all about divisiveness, about spewing venom against the Hindu community. Second message, Mohan Bhagwat Ji has very strongly spoken about the diversity, and he believes firmly in the fact that there has been a history, but India has to move forward and the diversity has to be respected. Now, they never expected such a statement coming from people like Mohan Bhagwat Ji, because they have been punishing the image of RSS. Now, when he is spoken unequivocally for the country, for the unity of the country, they can't accept. And third, I think, is a tight slap on the face of Asaduddin Owaisi, who doesn't respect the court. Mohan Bhagwat Ji has clearly said that respect the court of the country. Rahul Gandhi, who compared RSS to LET, also has a lot to answer, Navika.
Well, Lokesh Jindal, I want to ask you that middle of the road, a statement of consensus, a statement of calling for goodwill between communities, even that has this kind of a reaction. Where is the problem? Have we lost our sense of proportion, or do we just suspect everything anybody says?
Good evening, Navika. Don't think that this statement is something as if the soul of Nehru has entered Sri Mohan Bhagwat, nor can we consider this speech as an expression of BJP changing its stand of ethnic nationalism to civic nationalism. In fact, it is showing a stark reality. In 1980s, when BJP, RSS, it supported the Ram Janmabhoomi movement at that point of time, they were lawbreakers with only 2 seats in Lok Sabha. And now, BJP, which is ruling, they are the lawmakers. And this entire statement, what Mr. Bhagwat has stated, it has not diluted the Hindutva supremacy in any manner. In fact, the second tenure of BJP, it was nothing but RSS ideology into action. Abrogation of Article 370, Anti-Citizenship Amendment Act, Project Central Vista, Ram Temple at Ayodhya, and it opened a Pandora's box. And different strands of radical Hindutva expression started mushrooming all over the country. The Dharma Sansad, BJP, Bajrang Dal, there was lynching, Hindu-Muslim riots, and now there is another exodus of Kashmiri Pandits, but the government is simply unable to control the situation. There is no law and order. And RSS is very much conscious of what it has done and what is happening in the country. So what it has done is, it is playing a balancing act. It is trying to act Nehru, but still look at the statement.
Is playing a balancing act, a crime in this country? No. If Nehru says, whatever Nehruji said should be taken in good faith, but whatever Mohan Bhagwat says should not be taken in good faith, which constitution says this? Number one. Number two, my question to you, Mr. Jindal, is that in 1991, the BJP had made it very clear that it is not just the Ram Janma Bhoomi, there are issues of Kashi and Mathura which should also be tackled, and the Places of Worship Act should be cognizant of these two big demands. Why can't I ask you the question? Why can't I ask you the question that if you had heeded to that in 1991, maybe this kind of feeling would not have festered over the last 20 years, or rather 30 years.
In 1991, BJP was simply spreading hatred all over the country. They were against the constitutional ethos. And now suddenly they are talking about constitution, they are talking about law, they are talking about unity in diversity, but still the flavor of supremacy does not go. What does he say in his statement? That we have 33 crore gods, we can accommodate one more, still assimilation. Look at the second statement. They say that all the Muslims, their ancestors were Hindus. And the third statement is what? That Muslims, they must consider Ashfaqullah Khan, Ibrahim Khan Gardi as their role model. But he fails to call upon Akbar or any other Muslim ruler, because the point is, the expression is still, the face is still the supremacy of Hindus, trying to create a narration of Hindu Rashtra.
But supremacy of the Hindus is something the Congress has a problem. Gaurav Bhatia, I'm coming. Let me do one round with everybody and then I'm coming to you. Dr. Anand Ranganathan. Supremacy of the Hindus is something the Congress is allergic to. But appeasement of the Muslims, that is all right. And they are talking about the constitution not being followed. 1 minute, Lokesh Jindal, you've had your say. You are talking about the constitution not being followed by the BJP. ये बात कर रहे हैं? 1975 भूल गए? Constitution? Dr. Anand Ranganathan, respond to Lokesh Jindal.
Good evening, Navika, and good evening to all my esteemed panelists. It's a very serious topic that we've raised, and I think it requires a little bit of going into philosophical bent of mind, if I may, to answer this, because I have to say this, that I profoundly disagree with Dr. Mohan Bhagwat on his statement, I look for Shivling in every mosque. I'm sorry, but I find his statement flippant, frivolous, and an insult to all those who seek to legally correct historical injustices. I know I would be pilloried for this in many quarters, and many would say, "Tu kaun hai bhai? Ek sangi ko Hinduism."
I, as a Darwinian atheist, have no right to intervene. I don't have a skin in the game, as they say. But I assert that this is not a Hindu issue, or a Muslim issue, or a religious issue. Looking for Shivling, reclaiming demolished, destroyed places of worship, correcting historical injustices, Navika, is an Indian issue. It is a civilizational issue. And to me, the mark of a civilization is this unquenchable thirst of man to demand justice for his ancestors, to correct the historical wrong. For that exemplifies the continuity and identity that can never be erased, that is worth fighting for and preserving. It makes justice greater than the sum of its parts. And that is why a civilization fleeting like empire. To demand justice for a people who are dead for hundreds of years is almost as though you can feel their pain. their suffering, their destruction that has transcended the limits of body and time, and that is why the medicine, why catharsis is a cure. And today, when I see Hindus wishing to reclaim Kashi Vishwanath or Mathura, I see this as a catharsis, as a deliverance of justice to my ancestors who were wrong. I do not know, Navika, how long it would take, what shape the reclaimed temples would take. I do not know when they would be ultimately coming up. In a way, being an atheist, these issues. But I know for a fact that today, seeing Hindus fight for their rights, the deliverance has come. It is confounding to me because I am but a bunch of cells. Here today, gone tomorrow. But till the time I'm alive, this concept of striving to correct historical injustice is vital for me. It defines who I am. What part of that cannot erase my civilization. The concept of justice, Navika, is like memory. It keeps getting passed on until realized. And we have to realize it. Navika, just 20 seconds. The historian Sri Sitaram Goyal has meticulously tabulated 1862 mosques that are built upon demolished temples. According to historian lawyer J.S.I. Deepak, this number may be as high as 40,000. And that is why we need to look for each and every shivling, wherever it is, hidden underground or over it, inside a mosque or outside it. We owe it to our
Dr.
ancestors.
Anand Ranganathan,
we owe it to justice.
But Dr. Anand Ranganathan, while I agree the sentiment, the emotion of a Hindu on the mandirs and bringing them back because they were damaged, but the fact of the matter is it has to stop somewhere. It has to stop somewhere.
Yes.
I mean, that's the reasonable position to take, and that's what Mohan Bhagwat has taken. But I mean, you are angry with Mohan Bhagwat because you say he's taken away the rights of the Hindus to ask for every single temple to be returned, whereas Shoaib Jamai, person like Shoaib Jamai is upset कि भाई ये जो बोल रहे हैं ये तो करेंगे ही नहीं.
Navika, that's why I just need 10 seconds to complete before Shoaib Bhai can come in. Shoaib Bhai, can I have your permission?
Yes.
Shoaib Bhai, can I please have?
Yes, go on.
As I said, thank you, Shoaib Bhai. Navika, as I emphasized, I am a Davini native. I am not a Hindu. This is not a Hindu issue. How can I prevent someone from legally going to the court to ask for a historical injustice to be corrected? And I've said this before, I say it again. If Shoaib, my friend, my brother Muslim feels that a mosque needs to be reclaimed, that a temple has been built over it, I will go with him to the Supreme Court to demand that the mosque be reclaimed, that historical injustice be corrected. This is not a religious issue. This is an Indian issue. This is a civilizational issue.
Shoaib Jamai, respond. It's a very deep philosophical point being made by Dr. Anand Ranganathan.
Navika, initially I make up my mind to criticize RSS Pramukh, but now I'm in a dilemma. I feel sympathy for Mohan Bhagwat Ji because now I have to support him. The most criticism has done by Anand Ranganathan itself. And I believe the Hindus itself criticizing Mohan Bhagwat Ji. So it's a very awkward decision for me tonight to either to support him or to criticize him. Right. But the thing is that I believe that these statements are very hollow and it's an attempt for an image makeover for what was the debacle and all those historical past of the RSS, of the goons, Hindutva ideological goons, what they have done in India. So this is an attempt of the makeover. And the very important thing, Navika, because I have come to your show after a long time in this 9 p.m. show, as Mohan Bhagwat Ji is seems to be very secular and respecting the sentiments of every faith, I believe he also respects the sentiment of the Muslim. In your own show, 1 week ago, a spokesperson from BJP, Nupur Sharma, has commented very blasphemous statement against our prophet. अब हंगामा मच गया पूरे देश में, FIR भी हो गई. मैं सिर्फ इतना आदर से, रिस्पेक्ट से पूछना चाहता हूं, क्योंकि आप बड़े जिम्मेदार है, क्या आप उनके स्टेटमेंट को कंडेम करती हैं? बीजेपी उस पर कार्रवाई करेगी और एज ए चैनल, चूंकि आपके शो में हुआ, आप उसको रोक नहीं पाए, क्या आज डू यू फील रिग्रेट अबाउट दैट? अगर आप ये कह रहे हैं
इस पर आपने सवाल उठाया, तो आई हैव नो प्रॉब्लम इन टेलिंग यू दैट इन अ लाइव डिबेट, when people say something, it is a live debate. I have no way of censoring anybody, and you should know, you have said so many objectionable things. I have on many occasions even stopped you, and that day also I intervened and I told Nupur Sharma that don't say hurtful things. You know, she mentioned certain things which were mentioned in the Quran, but I still said, and I appealed to her that we should not say hurtful things to each other, because this is a civilized debate and we should pick up issues. But do not forget that she throughout the program continued to say that people were insulting the Hindus, and they should not do so by calling it a fountain and refusing to call it a Shivling. If anything, you should have said court will decide whether it's a Shivling or a fountain. I have no problem with that. But to point fingers at Nupur Sharma or me, go ahead, be my guest. FIRs are all over the place. Now the matter will go to the courts. Let the courts take a call. Let the courts take a call. And frankly, I'm nobody to give a verdict on it. But Gaurav Bhatia, I want to ask you, you know, why are people diverting from the issue of Mohan Bhagwat Ji? Why do they only remember a certain hard line that is taken, but when somebody is talking about a centrist principle, a principle of Lakshman Rekha, usko koi tawajjo hi nahi de raha. Nobody is giving any attention or importance to that. Why? What's the vested interest?
Navika, I will come to the point that has been made so far from the Congress sympathizer, but let me say this with some responsibility. Since an issue has been raised about a colleague of mine, also a fellow spokesperson, we need to understand, either Shoaib Jamai and other Muslims should come out and say that what Nupur Sharma has said is not true and is false. They should deny it because it is written in the hadiths, and when it is part of that, I think speaking truth cannot be an offense. It cannot be something which is wrong. But still I would say, when these people come out and they call a Shivling, which is revered by us, a fountain, it is equally hurting and disgusting. So if you expect that others should respect your sentiment, you also respect the sentiments of the Hindu community till the verdict is given by the court. Now coming to the point that you made. Navika, if Mohan Bhagwat Ji has shown that the RSS ideology is tolerant, the BJP is tolerant, and Hinduism is tolerant, it is this tolerance that the Congress party and other venom-spewing persons and organizations fear, because all this while they were spreading a propaganda that, you know, the ideology is divisive. But today Rahul Gandhi and Congress party is closer to Lashkar-e-Taiba, not the RSS as Rahul Gandhi had told, as revealed by WikiLeaks. Please be quiet. Don't speak in between. Navika, please ask him to be quiet.
Lokesh Jindal, I'll give you time to rebut, as I will give Shoaib.
You may be enjoying, you may not be enjoying, I hardly care.
Let's not interrupt each other. I'll give everybody a time to speak and rebut.
I cannot beat you on that.
Gaurav Bhatia first.
Yes. You know, second, I am aghast, I am shocked. If Mohan Bhagwat Ji and the RSS makes a statement which is inclusive, Navika, which says that we have many gods and we can accommodate the belief of another community and have one more god. That is all about inclusivity. They are condemning such a statement. But if they say there is only one god and no other god, and we will eliminate all the kafirs, that is commendable because they are a Muslim party. Second, have you ever seen a Congress spokesperson participating in a debate related to the Gyanvapi Mandir? No, they will not even send their official spokespersons. Even on Yasin Malik, given life imprisonment, the Congress party did not even dare to send their official spokesperson. Do you know why? Because they want to appease a particular community and they don't care about the Hindus, and they can coin the term Hindu terror. And last but not the least, respect for the Constitution, Uniform Civil Code, they will not utter a word. Article 370, though temporary, not abrogated by them, done by Narendra Modi ji. And superseding senior most Supreme Court judges just to have a CGI which will follow their diktats. That is the respect they have for the Constitution. And then they dare to criticize Mohan Bhagwat Ji, who's talking about the Constitution and the cause of the country.
Secondly,
please don't speak in between. Shameless fellow, don't speak in between. Have respect.
You know, let's not get so personal.
Did Rahul Gandhi comment on the Gyanvapi Mandir issue?
Make some statements, and it is the anchor and the channel which gets into trouble. Let's not use unparliamentary language, please. Please, my friends. Please, my friends. I beseech you.
The only problem these people have is they don't even send their official spokespersons, and dihadi ke sympathizer aake chillane lagte hain. Is this the kind of debate we'll have? You may have a divergent view, but you should make your return.
Let's not look down upon people. Let's not look down upon people. 1 minute. We are digressing from the issue. My issue here is that when Mohan Bhagwat Ji says something, we find fault with it when it is a middle of the road. What he did earlier, what the RSS did earlier, we can all bring that up, fair enough. We can. But I'm saying कि हमारा तो धर्म, हमारी संस्कृति हमको सिखाती है कि सुबह का बूला शाम को घर आता है तो उसे बूला नहीं कहते, और अगर वो जोड़ने की बात कर रहे हैं तो इसमें दिक्कत क्या है? What is the reservation? I don't understand that reservation that is being expressed by people. And he says मिल बैठकर फैसला कर लो if you can come to a consensus. Anand Ranganathan, where is the problem with that? And he says if it doesn't get solved in consensus, then go to court and listen to the court. Where is the problem?
Yes. No, as I said, Navika, please give me a minute to explain. It's fairly complicated as it happens, because these people in the panels below, starting from my good friend Mr. Jindal, have been shocked by the rather conciliatory statement, as you call it, middle of the path statement. I disagree with him, but that's the fact is surprised at this statement, because this statement could as well have been coming from a Congress leader or an AIMIM leader.
Because ultimately what Mr. Bhagwat is saying is that let us just concentrate on what we have. Let's not talk about those, as I said, 40,000 temples that have been demolished and mosques built on them. It's a conciliatory middle ground statement. I disagree with it. As an Indian,
it is amusing that someone like Mr. Jindal disagrees with it, because this is something exactly that would come from a congressman's mouth. So this is why they have been taken off guard. They do not know how to react, because they are carrying agenda. Mr. Jindal will not react like I have. He doesn't want to interrupt.
Under these words, there is the inherent ideology of a Hindu supremacy.
Well, Mr. Jindal, you can't be interrupting everybody, Mr. Jindal. Come on, hold on.
Give me some time.
Yes, I will. If you stop interrupting people, I will give you time. Anand, finish your point.
Yes. As I was saying, I gave ample examples that I am here to fight legally to correct historical injustices. Religion agnostic. These people don't want that, Navika. They want only historical injustices against the Muslims or non-Hindus to be corrected. They don't want the historical injustice against Hindus to be corrected. This is their problem. इनको समझ में नहीं आ रहा आप कहें क्या, बिकॉज जो स्टेटमेंट डॉक्टर मोहन भागवत ने कही है वो इनकी स्टेटमेंट है.
Well, Lokesh Jindal, I want to ask you, actually Anand is right. You don't know what to say, how to criticize, because you've made up your mind. Your agenda is to criticize the BJP and the RSS. So regardless of what they say, अगर वो sensible बात भी कहें तो आपको तो उसकी मुखालफत करनी है ना. आपका तो धर्म ही वही है.
See, first of all, if we look at the statement that Mr. has given, he says that we have 33 crore gods, we can have few more. That entire statement is an expression of assimilation, assimilating a religion. I mean, he's not talking about a mutual respect, peaceful coexistence and tolerance. What he says is assimilation into the grand Hindutva fold. Secondly, when he talks about the ancestors of Muslims being Hindus, rishis, munis, rajas, what does he mean to say? When he says that the DNA of the Muslims are basically Hindus, which is fair, it is archaeological, he's historically wrong, and that has no basis to it. Now, don't tell me that suddenly Mr. Bhatia,
I don't know, Lokesh Jindal ji, where you read your history, but the fact is, Islam बाहर से आया था, आक्रामकों के हाथों आया था, उस आक्रमण में भारत की स्वतंत्रता तोड़े गए थे, हजारों हैं, ये मामले उठ There is no lie in this. And then he says, अब हमें आंदोलन नहीं करना है, लेकिन मन में मुद्दे उठते हैं, ये किसी के विरुद्ध नहीं है, मुसलमानों को विरुद्ध नहीं मानना चाहिए, हिंदुओं को भी नहीं मानना चाहिए. अच्छी बात है, ऐसा कुछ है तो आपस में मिल बैठकर सहमति से कोई रास्ता निकाले, लेकिन हर बार नहीं निकल सकता तो कोर्ट जाते हैं, तो जो कोर्ट फैसला देता है उसको मानना चाहिए. इसमें गलत क्या है शोएब जमाई जी, मुझे समझा दीजिए. मुझे इसमें एक लफ्ज भी गलत नहीं लग रहा. No, Lokesh Jindal, I'm putting down your fader because you want to speak all the 35 minutes of the debate and that's not possible and it's not fair. शोएब जमाई.
देखिए नाविका जी, भाई हम तो इस्लाम में हमारा फेथ है, कलमा ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह पढ़ते हैं, मुझे इस पर गर्व है, फक्र है और मैं शुक्र अदा करता हूं कि खुदा ने हमें यहाँ से ईमान वाला बनाया. कौन कह रहा है कि शर्मिंदा होकर पढ़िए? आप बिल्कुल गर्व से इस्लाम फॉलो करिए. कौन कह रहा है? यकीनन सुनिए, तो फिर सुनिए, इस बात को बार बार दोहराना कि इतिहास में क्या था नहीं था, अरे इतिहास में क्या था तो फिर बाबा आदम के जमाने में जाएंगे तो सर्च कर लीजिए, आप भी मुसलमान थे. हमारे आस्था के हिसाब से जितने बच्चे पैदा होते हैं सब मुसलमान होते हैं, बाद में फिर वो अलग अलग धर्म अपना लेते हैं. तो आप मानेंगे हमारी इस बात को? लेकिन आप अगर कोई तथ्य दिखा दें, इफ यू हैव एनी फैक्ट्स एट योर कमांड, people may want to consider it, but if you're going to talk in the air, nobody is. But if you are saying that you are sensitive about Islam, I completely am sensitive to that and I appreciate it, but I'm saying बार बार जो फाउंटेन कहते हैं और कहते हैं ये फाउंटेन ही है, तो ये क्यों नहीं कहते that this is something that is now going to be decided by the courts? Why don't they say that? Whether it is a Shivling or a fountain, let the court decide. But they will continue to call it fountain. तो वो हिंदुओं को अपसेट नहीं करेगा? नहीं करेगा? No, तो उनकी सेंसिटिविटी नहीं है.
Allow me, please.
नाविका जी, I feel pity to the BJP spokesperson. He is justifying the act of Nupur Sharma, and in mark of protest, I am leaving this show, and I am challenging Bharatiya Janata Party that you are spurring violence in the country, and you are spurring unrest in the country with your such horrible.
Well, let's not say get out. Let's not say get out and all, Gaurav Bhatia ji. You want an answer? You want an answer? अरे जवाब तो सुनते जाइए. शोएब जमाई जी, जवाब तो सुनते जाइए, शायद मिडल ऑफ द रोड जवाब हो. वेल, गौरव भाटिया, रिस्पॉन्ड.
You know, Navika, it's really painful to see the kind of intolerance that we have to tolerate every day. What did I say? I will first address this issue. इनकी फीलिंग्स हैं, हमारी फीलिंग्स कुछ भी नहीं है. ये बैठ के फुव्वारा करते रहे तो ये ठीक है, और हम कहें आपकी हदीत में लिखा है, वो बात कही है नूपुर शर्मा ने, तो हम इनकी फीलिंग्स हर्ट कर रहे हैं. I will be the first one to apologize if factually what has been stated is not correct. But good that he has left, because they can't even hear what is written in their religious texts. Now coming to the second point. Navika, the Congress sympathizer, said that because Mohan Bhagwat Ji has said there is accommodation for other gods, he is wrong and he is insinuating something. He is not showing mutual respect and tolerance. जब कहा जाता है कि काफिरों को मार दो, जब कहा जाता है कि हिंदू टेरर, is that mutual respect and tolerance? And I want to ask him, when Ashok Gehlot, who is a constitutional functionary, says Gyanvapi Mandir is a tamasha band karo, when Owaisi says it is a fuvara, are they showing respect to the majority community? The answer is simple, no they aren't. And that is why their double standards and hypocrisy is evident. My last point is, Anand ji said that Mohan Bhagwat ji ka ek statement hai, he doesn't agree. Anand bhai, Mohan Bhagwat ji ki tarah you are equally a citizen of this country. What Mohan Bhagwat ji has said has great persuasive value and millions of Hindus and even non-Hindus believe in him. But it does not take away a right that has been conferred by the constitution upon the citizen to move the court. Mohan Bhagwat ji never said that. So that right is rightly available to all, and it is not a mandamus of the Supreme Court. It is words and sentence of a leader who is well respected in the country and abroad, and it doesn't take away from the right of a citizen to move the court.
Well said. So Danish Qureshi ji, Danish Qureshi, my question to you is, Mr. Owaisi even talks about Antony. I'm coming to you, Anand. Mr. Qureshi, Antony Blinken का हवाला दिया जा रहा है. Now I want to ask you, are we now going to run our country on the basis of what Mr. Blinken says? Do you know, and have you ever questioned the fact that how many shootouts have happened in the US in the last 2 or 3 weeks? Can you tell us that they can't control their own gun-toting policy and people going out and killing kindergarten students, in dozens? And you're giving the hawala of Antony Blinken just because it suits you? I just want to ask you, India is not in a position today to be dictated by anybody, least of all the Americans. And their record on human rights violations is something that Mr. Owaisi, who's a well-read man, who's a barrister, should know. I want to ask you, why does Mr. Mohan Bhagwat's statement irk him so much that he has to put out 17 tweets? Does it take away the right of Mr. Owaisi to incite Muslims if Hindus were to take the middle path suggested by Mohan Bhagwat ji? Is that the problem?
Okay. My first question to Mr. Bhatia ji, that either the statement of Mr. Bhagwat, are they BJP is going to follow that? Are the Prime Minister going to give a statement that Places of Worship Act 1919 will be applied? Because till today no statement has come from PMO regarding Gyanvapi, Mathura and number of petitions which have been filed in the court. अब सवाल ये है कि अगर मोहन भागवत जी का स्टेटमेंट के साथ इनकी ही सुटेबिलिटी नहीं है, भारतीय जनता पार्टी की और उनकी, तो फिर बाकी लोगों को उसमें भरोसा रखना या विश्वास दिलाना वो कैसे मुनासिब है? तो बीजेपी खुद असमंजस में है. माय क्वेश्चन टू गौरव भाटिया, दैट आर दे गोइंग टू गिव बैकअप to the 4 women, those who have filed the petition regarding Singar Gauri, or not? Either they are going to follow the statement of Mohan Bhagwat ji, but problem is that the BJP is having a dual standard. First of all, they create the rakas in the entire country.
You don't have a double standard, but BJP has a double standard. Anand Ranganathan, I need to come to you, but 30 seconds to Gaurav Bhatia to
rebut. Why you are defending BJP, Navika? I think you are a biased anchor, so please conduct the program instead of defending the BJP, Navika.
आपने सवाल पूछा भाई, मैं उनसे जवाब लेकर आपको दे रही हूँ.
It's up to you.
नहीं, आपने सवाल पूछा, मैं उनको फोर्स कर रही हूँ कि आपको जवाब दे.
Done.
जी गौरव भाटी जी जवाब दीजिए दानिश कुरैशी जी को।
उनके पास कोई जवाब नहीं है, लाजवाब लोग हैं
अब ये भी आप ही तय करेंगे, सवाल भी आप ही पूछेंगे, जवाब भी आप ही देंगे, तो फिर मेरी भी जरूरत नहीं है।
Can I respond?
Yes, Gaurav
भाटिया जी
Bhatia.
दें जवाब, और क्या?
Yes. Navika, when Danish was speaking, I decided to remain quiet, giving him respect. But he also doesn't believe that he deserves to be respected. So he said that I don't have an answer. My answer is this. Please note it. You don't understand the constitution. You don't understand what the Prime Minister of the country speaks. You don't even understand what Mohan Bhagwat Ji said.
Oh.
Where is the difference in what the BJP believes in and what Mohan Bhagwat Ji said? As I pointed out, there are three facets to the statement. One, respect the courts. The Bharatiya Janata Party has always respected the courts of the country and the judiciary. Second is unity.
Navika,
Unity and diversity. We have always believed in sabka. Please don't speak in between. Please don't speak in between. Please. Unity and diversity is not a matter of slogan. We have followed it in the last 8 years. Sabka saath, sabka vikas, sabka prayas, sabka vishwas. And on the Gyanvapi issue, did you hear Mohan Bhagwat say that the petition that has been filed by other citizens, and it is their right, should not be pursued? Places of Worship Act, the same thing. When the matter is pending before the Honorable Supreme Court,
last word,
why do you feel that Mohan Bhagwat's statement is contrary to the proceeding?
For a long time, even before Mr. Shoaib Jamai decided to leave the debate. वो है नहीं, but I'm sure he'll watch the video of the debate.
देख रहे वो देख रहे
नाविका, मैं बहुत छोटा सा पॉइंट यहाँ ऐड करना चाहता हूँ। मैं ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि मोहन भागवत जी इज एब्सोल्युटली राइट व्हेन ही सेज कि हिंदूज और मुस्लिम्स का डीएनए सेम है। अरे भाई, हमारा डीएनए 99.97% सिमिलर टू इवन लूसी अवर फर्स्ट एंसेस्टर। बात वो नहीं है, बात ये है कि एकदम ठीक कह रहे हैं वो कि एक दो जनरेशन में सुशील से सोहेल हो गए, दिनेश से दानिश हो गए, पर मोहन भागवत जी ये बार बार बात क्यों कह रहे हैं? मैं बताना उनको चाहता हूं कि ये कहने का कोई, वो चाहते हैं कि इससे भाईचारा बढ़ेगा, वो ये समझ नहीं रहे हैं। या आई एम नॉट बीइंग, इफ आई एम बीइंग पैट्रोनाइजिंग, आई अपोलोजाइज टू हिम, बट ही मस्ट अंडरस्टैंड दैट द अदर पीपल आर एक्सक्लूसिविस्ट, सुप्रीमेसिस्ट, दे डोंट बिलीव एनी अदर गॉड. Hindus are the worst of creatures, and he must read Naipaul, who says that the converted are more Catholic than the Pope. तो ये जो कह रहे हैं ना एक साथ भाईचारे में मिल के सॉल्व कर लेंगे, ये नहीं होने वाला है. प्लीज मिस्टर भागवत, डॉक्टर भागवत, the only solution is legal.
The jury is out on that, but if somebody comes out and appeals for people to sit together and find a solution rather than adopting a confrontational approach, why is that statement creating such a divide is something I just can't understand or appreciate. I don't know where the viewers stand on this. Take your position. Should the middle path be an issue of debate and condemnation? Think about it. Where are we headed? Thank you very much to my panelists for joining me on debate number 1. On the other side, the big Kashmir debate in the last